Member the 26th.
Gareth Hughes.
Mr Speaker, ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. This afternoon, Mr Speaker, Parliament looks set to sign the ACT Party's ideological solution in search of a problem, the Education Freedom of Association Members' Bill. Mr Speaker, the Green Party is proud to be opposing this bill, and we call on the government benches to reconsider their support. Minister of Tertiary Education Stephen Joyce has one last chance to reconsider allowing this bill to pass to save quality tertiary education. Mr Joyce, at a minimum, must delay implementation for at least a year.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Speaker, it might be that there's been a massive change in standing orders, Mr Speaker, but my understanding is that this bill is Members' Order of the Day number 1 today, and according to standing orders for a long time, the debate on that occurs when the bill is called and cannot be anticipated.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard is quite correct. I didn't interpret as being a particular contribution to debate on that bill. If it was, the member should be aware of that and not continue. Gareth Hughes.
Speaking to the point of order,
no, we've dealt with members. I mean, the standing orders are clear. Members should not refer to items further down on the order paper. Gareth Hughes.
Well, Mr Speaker, I'd like to talk about tertiary education issues and why this government, under Stephen Joyce, as the Tertiary Education Minister, deserves an F. I'd like to talk about why we saw hundreds of students at Auckland universities barricade themselves within the Owen Glen building, take action against this government, what they're doing to tertiary education. Now, Mr Speaker, it's not just about this bill, which will be passed later on today under this Parliament. There's a whole host of changes, which means we are not, as a government in this country, delivering quality education. Mr Speaker, in the last week we've seen 5 of our 6 New Zealand universities drop down the international rankings. We've seen literally thousands of students turned away from accessing education because the government has retrospectively applied the rules to students who failed papers more than 2 years ago. Now, Mr Speaker, this isn't fair. Mr Speaker, this isn't right, and Mr Speaker, this isn't how we build a smart economy. A smart economy is one that invests in its people, it invests in education, but under a national government what we've seen is a capping of tertiary education funding at a time when we've got inflation at 21-year highs. Of course we're seeing a reduction in tertiary education, and Mr Speaker, it's no surprise our universities are dropping down the world rankings, and this is why when we hear about delivering a brighter future, Mr Speaker, what we're hearing is simple spin from the National Party, who aren't putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to tertiary education. Mr Speaker, we've seen changes to the student loan scheme, which has meant that over 55-year-olds cannot access a student loan for living costs. Apart from being discriminatory and absolutely unfair, this doesn't recognise the fact that many Kiwis are working longer, they're changing careers many times in their lifetime, and the fact is what we want is our elderly workers upskilling so they can deliver to our economy. Now, on every front when it comes to this most important issue, we're seeing the National Party failing us. What we have to do, going into the election, is focus on the things that really matter. Now, Mr Speaker, I'm proud to be standing here as a Green member going into the election with the priorities of delivering 100,000 jobs. Obviously, it's from investing in our natural assets, which is our natural environment, that 100% clean green brand, but also our people. And that's why education will continue to be a priority for the Green Party. Secondly, when we look at our national environment, it's a tragedy that our kids, our grandkids, can't swim in our waterways, our rivers, streams and lakes in New Zealand because of simply the pollution, the intensive agriculture we're seeing. And we've got a plan, Mr Speaker, which was attempted to be tabled in Parliament today, the Green Party plan to clean up our rivers. Lastly, Mr Speaker, we are a rich country, yet we have 270,000 kids in poverty, growing up, many of them without going to school with food in their belly, many of them without shoes, Mr Speaker, requiring NGOs literally to deliver shoes and rain jackets. Mr Speaker, we've got a plan, fully costed, that means we can, within 3 years, lift 100,000 Kiwi kids out of poverty. So what I've heard in this general debate is a matter of political spin. Again, that tribal battle which we hear between the blue team and the red team. Mr Speaker, when it comes to the issues that really matter to our future, which is what a rich life means, whether it means being able to swim in a waterway or river or a lake in New Zealand, when it means having a rich country that doesn't have kids in poverty, when it means having those good jobs, Mr. Speaker, the Green Party will continue to deliver an economy which works for everyone.
Chris Tremaine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.